Just going to go with that.
Welcome to Sachs Realty's Tuesday Night Podcast, where we talk about anything and everything real estate. Each week, we deliver expert information enabling you to make better informed decisions while keeping more money in your pocket. If you're interested in real estate, this is your show. That's a lot of digits. I think we're live.
We are live.
We are live. Hey, guys.
Hi, guys.
Welcome to our Tuesday Night Podcast.
Welcome, welcome. Happy to have you here.
Oh, we've got so much to talk about tonight. Well, Melissa and I were just trying to figure out, we were just checking out the credit card debt or consumer revolving loans. Mm-hmm. And we were trying to figure out how many zeros were in a trillion. I just know that my calculator doesn't go up that high. But we know that it's 12 zeros in $1 trillion.
12 zeros.
And digits, 13 digits.
I asked Siri.
Credit card debt, almost that high. Guys, welcome to our Tuesday Night Podcast. Tonight we are going deep. We are going to talk about, well, you guys are probably so confused. So many people are confused.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're trying to figure out, are house prices going up or house prices coming down? Or interest rates going up or interest rates coming down? Let's talk about that tonight. I want to know what you guys think, and we want to answer your questions. But we are going to talk about some pretty big facts. Credit card debt, consumer debt is one of them, the highest that it's ever been, almost $1 trillion. People are so in debt. The Fed is meeting on the 12th and 13th, I think it is, of June.
Yep.
FOMC meeting. And a lot of people are, and I understand the confusion because depending on who you listen to, a lot of people are saying that the interest rates are going to stall, they're going to go back down. And then there's people like me that think they're still going to go up. I'm going for 1/4 point. We'll just set the record straight. I don't know what will happen. We'll see. We'll determine whether the Fed will pivot. But anyway, we are seeing a lot happen with the recent increase in interest rates, and houses are really starting to sit.
Yes.
In fact, I have a buyer that I'm helping him move to Texas. And we were just on the phone with a friend of mine that is an agent in Texas. And this particular area is a suburb of Dallas. And Melissa, I mean, the prices are coming down.
They are.
We're looking at, 2,200 square feet. Somewhere in the neighborhood, he'll probably get to buy a house for like $300,000 in a suburb of Dallas because the competition is cranking up. Days on the market sitting at 45, 50 days. And we're starting to see $15,000, $20,000 price reductions in these areas. Where guys, in other areas, we're seeing, prices going up. But I don't think that's going to last. A lot of people think that I'm wrong with that. But we've already seen where median prices, National Association of Realtors published, median prices are dropping. Median home price. There's a lot of people say, well, what's a median home price? The median home price is what the average person has to pay across America to achieve home ownership. And if you are in an area like where we are in Maryland, the median home price doesn't get you very much here. In fact, if you're not spending $400,000, $500,000, you're not getting very much, and that's crippling for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. In fact, I talked about this one buyer that I have that we're looking. Their requirement is a 4-bedroom, 2-bath house in the Baltimore area, metropolitan area. We're looking at 5 counties right now. And with a budget of $550,000, what can you get with a 4-bedroom, 2-bath house? We really have 7 properties to look through, that are of a decent, livable kind of what somebody would consider to be move-in ready. But yeah, so guys, we're going to talk about some different things tonight. We're going to talk about the CPI numbers for April, the affordability. We're going to talk about what's happening with the buyers. They're being enticed right now by a lot of different loan products out there, which is really concerning. We'll talk about the Rocket Mortgage 1% that we get a lot of comments on. People are asking about that. What's going on with that? So we'll talk about, Rocket Mortgage as well as the ARMS adjustable rate mortgages. If kind of what we're hearing buyers say and their behaviors right now and what sellers are saying. And, the conversation that we're having with sellers, at least in-house, the concerns are really starting to step in, as far as, hey, did we miss the market? What should we expect? What is our, downside if we put our house on the market right now, or should we wait? This is a big thing. The most famous thing popular thing right now that we hear from sellers is, should I sell now or should I just wait it out? See if the interest rates are going to drop to where we can get a higher price. So I think, we'll talk about that during our show. If you're a seller and you have some questions, go ahead and comment them in. And we're going to talk about the 40-year mortgage, not the actual program that the FHA and VA have as far as recasting, but we're talking about new purchases, existing home purchases, where some people are talking about getting a non-qualified 40-year mortgage. So we'll dive into a little bit of that tonight. We are live, guys, so if you're watching while we're live, we would love to take your comments and your questions. And so go ahead and comment those in no matter where you're watching. And if we'll do our best. If you comment when we're not live, we'll kind of do our best to respond to those comments. Melissa,
Yes.
tell everybody who you are.
Hello,
For those that don't
everyone.
know, everybody knows.
For those of you that don't know me, Melissa Levy. I am Todd's assistant, also licensed, and I'm with you every Tuesday night. And I do a lot here at Sachs Realty, help the agents, and be able to navigate these crazy times with Todd. I'm by his side. If not physically, we talk all day long. But just as Todd said, we want to hear what's going on. You guys were very active this week on our channel. We got a lot of feedback. We heard a lot of opinions, and we're going to address those again on our weekly Q&A that we do. But we want to hear from you tonight. We want to hear what you're seeing and what you're going through. But just as Todd said, a lot going on, especially with these lenders are coming up with these strategic things programs to get buyers into homes and to keep people living in their homes and staying in their homes.
Yeah, I think the video that we had probably the most comments on this week were about people starting to walk away from the mortgages.
Yeah.
Which we kind of predicted that would happen. I mean, we don't want to be right. We just because we're reporting on what's going on, it's not like we're happy that people are overpaying for houses, and that, I hear all the time, well, you guys are commission based, so you want people to overpay. It's just not true. We want people I don't want to sell somebody's house because they're going bankrupt. I don't want a client that buys a house from me 2 years later that I have to go in and displace them from their home because they're not able to make their payments. And that's one of the reasons why, we've been really getting on kind of saying, hey guys, this is a very cautionary time. Then you hear other people that say, like, you're going to miss the boat if you don't buy now. Don't listen to, what they're saying about the unaffordable times. Don't listen to what they say about, interest rates going up. Don't listen to what they say about, the fact that your payment's going to change because your property taxes are going to go up when you move in, that your insurance is going to go up, and, your payments are going to change. Don't listen to that, because, if you miss the mark and you don't buy right now, you're going to be sorry, and you're going to pay $40,000 for your house next year or something like that. And, what we've been saying, and this is really kind of disturbing, because you've got kind of, you're hearing so many different things. What we're trying to say is, look at your finances. And, we're reporting that the bubble it was inflated like never before. 40% housing increase, values increased in 2 years. That's not normal. No. All we're trying to do is say, look, guys, when we have something that's not normal, if it doesn't pass the sniff test here, it's not right. I mean, let's look at that, right? We had interest rates that were really deliberately taken to zero to stimulate the economy, and then it took forever to get the rates going back up again. It made such cheap money that people are in debt, right? So let's start off. Let's show the CPI numbers from April, because I want to kind of talk about this. The Fed, like I said, meeting in June, has to make a decision. They probably already know. And I think the biggest thing here, guys, is that we have to really be mindful that we're in a election cycle coming up here. 24, obviously a big presidential election. We have an administration that would love to stay in power. And then we have, a lot that would like to take over the power. So what we're looking at right now is, so many things are being sort of propped up with all these, programs that are happening right now that makes things look like everything's great. But let's look at these numbers, because so we look at these all items in the CPI, and guys, this is public information. I mean, we're still looking at what's it, 4.9% in 12-month percentage change on the CPI Consumer Price Index. Still way far off of what the Fed said as a 2% target range.
Right.
And then when we look here, the food, 7.7%. So I think that's even low. I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's crackers.
I think it's low. I don't know.
Maybe it's a cracker category.
I think
you know
the
what I mean?
price is-
Crackers and chips and stuff.
It could be.
Meats, milk,
Yeah.
eggs,
Yeah.
things like that. I mean,
Eggs have gotten better, I will say.
Right.
Eggs definitely are better, but yeah, still very expensive.
energy, they're saying that energy, and I think most people are seeing that at the pump.
Yeah.
Where at least
leveled
fuel,
off a little
transportation fuel has come down.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, a lot of this too, this says that it's not seasonally adjusted. So, and so we're looking at if that were seasonally adjusted for most of the country to where we're not really doing a lot of heating right now, right?
Right.
Or even cooling using electric. So I think those energy, if we adjusted those, it may be more than that. And, but here we go, 5.5 in, all categories minus food and energy.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
I think these are the big numbers right here. We'd love to know what you guys think. What do you think the Fed's going to do? Do you think the Fed's going to pause right now? And what kind of impact would that have on prices? Would that start consumer spending again, or wouldn't it matter?
I mean, look, we're going to know a lot in 2 weeks. I think you are on track, Todd, with saying that they're going to, raise again. But we'd like to hear what you think about that, but what's going on and what's going to happen, especially with the numbers being reported. Yeah.
So while we're giving you an opportunity to let us know in the comments section of what you think there, we should have started with a poll. Let's talk about this Rocket Mortgage. When I say desperate times equals desperate measures, when I'm speaking to loan officers, which seems like a daily occurrence, people are reaching out, and loan officers want business. So we're starting to see people that we've never even talked to before reach out and say, hey, can I come in, do a sales meeting for your agents and, show you what we can do, what kind of programs we have, and what we can offer and things like that. They're obviously we're way down. Their business is down because they have no refinance business, which a lot of it the last couple of years, loan officers were making a lot of money on doing that refi.
Yeah.
And a lot of them were just focused on refi business, not even new purchase. But Rocket Mortgage came out with this program that they are, and I'm not endorsing Rocket Mortgage in any way, shape, or form. This is just a fact. We had one of our, actually several of our listeners had said, hey, look, can you cover this? Can you ask, can you find out about it and things like that? But, basically, and let's, there you go.
Yep.
So the 1%, this is a conventional loan. So a lot of people think that this was FHA. It's not. It's a conventional loan product. You can go to rocketmortgage.com. You could just Google, honestly, search their 1% loan program. But basically, it has to be a primary residence, a place where you live, so investors don't get excited about it. But basically, what happened is that they're marketing here on their website that you will get a 2% grant from Rocket Mortgage, and that in this loan product, there won't be a mortgage insurance, which until you get 20% equity in your home, which good luck with that, where the mortgage insurance would drop off. So apparently there is no mortgage insurance, and that you bring as little as 1% down, and it says as little as. So I'm sure, and again, I don't know, I'm not endorsing them, but what I want to just kind of give you guys that are considering buying a house right now, and you're thinking about this, and which I'm sure they're getting a lot of activity, people inquiring about this with interest rates the way they are right now, and money. People don't have the money down, and that's always been a problem with buying a home. This isn't new since the pandemic. 15 years ago, we were dealing with people that didn't have down payment money and wanted to buy a house. But what I want is you have to look at when you see advertisements, not just from Rocket Mortgage but anywhere, and people are talking about and catching your attention with some type of enticement, right? Hey, I don't have money down. I see this, for 1%, I can buy a $300,000 house, and I only have to put down 1%. So maybe that's $3,000. This you have to only make, I think it's 80%. So your area, you would have to look at your area and determine what the median income is for your area. And then, so you can't make more than 80% of that median income, you won't qualify. So it's for, the lower end earners in the median income range. But guys, you want to ask and make sure that you're asking questions about what the other fees are. Because, with this in any correspondent lender, right? So, correspondent lenders, they actually have, other people, brokers that are writing under them, or, qualifying borrowers under like Rocket Mortgage program. Most of these lenders sell your mortgage. So what happens is there are other fees that are involved. They're called loan origination fees. And this is where, you really want to dive in. You want to see, hey, what are the loan origination fees? What are the points, if any? Are there points, which is percentage points that you have to pay, bring money to the table as part of your closing costs. So it has nothing to do with down payment. So it may be, so you need to look into that if there are closing costs involved and what they are. And then what happens is, they package your loan up and end up selling it. Once they fund the loan, you sign your settlement papers and things like that. Then they actually sell your loan on the secondary mortgage market to investors as a mortgage-backed security, as a bond, a mortgage-backed security bond. And, that's a lot of what we've been hearing with the federal government about, a quantitative tightening or getting rid of a lot of the mortgage-backed securities that the government invested in to keep these mortgage rates low and keep mortgages still going. So just be careful with this. I just wanted to address that. I'm not saying it's not a great program. It may be, but check with other lenders too, and just make sure that when you're buying a home. Don't let a 1% enticement entice you into buying a house if you don't have money in the bank.
I was just because there's so much more than just your mortgage payment. And we've talked about this all the time in our show, but there's a lot that goes into it: the maintenance of a home, the upkeep of a home, repairs, etc. You have no idea what you're getting into. And sure, this may look great on paper and flashy and like, oh my gosh, now I can get into a home and purchase. And we do see the lender side. They're feeling it, just like Todd said. We have the lenders reaching out to us, want to make sure that they're in front of us, having communication, building relationships, because they are feeling it, with the current conditions of the market. So it's really really make sure you do that math and understand, because I mean, who wouldn't want to put 1% down? I mean, sure, it sounds amazing, but usually, I don't know, this could be fine, but if things sound too good to be true, you just need to do some research.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if you have plenty of money in the bank and you can use other people's money, I mean, that is one way of obtaining wealth, right? Rich people have used that leverage, is what it's called, in many cases. But the issue is again that people not having the money. And I was speaking with somebody the other day that wants to have new carpet put in the house in like one room, and they just bought a house and they're like, yeah, well, we've got to save up money to put the carpet in the house. I mean, it's probably like less than $500 or $600.
Yeah.
And when we're talking about buyers that bought a house and can't afford a $500 or $600 improvement to their home, what happens when the roof leaks and the this and that and everything else? So let's talk about the 40-year mortgage. And well, before we do, let's see if we have any questions.
We do. We have, you guys, they're coming in quick. So let me just try to backtrack a moment here.
Guys, we really appreciate too you spending your Tuesday evening with us. There's plenty of things that you could be doing, and we're just trying to bring you what's happening in the marketplace. And if you know somebody that's buying a house, or maybe even you're looking at buying a house right now, it's okay to sit this one out, take a little breather, a break. We're in a very chartered territory as far as what's going on. I personally think interest rates, if they do dip down again, it will be, in my opinion, because of the election and trying to appease what's going on with, but if the Fed does what they're supposed to do, or what they should be doing to actually try and get us down to that 2% target, 3% target, even, we are so far away from that. And by the way, there is no 3% target. It's 2% or nothing, is what Jay Powell had said multiple times in his FOMC briefings. But I think the important thing here is to know is that, what we're seeing in interest rates here are normal over the history of the 30-year fixed rate mortgage. I think somewhere around 7.77%, somewhere in that range, has been historically the historical average. Now, yes, they've gone up into double digits of what we saw in the 80s and from the stagflation of the 70s. And of course, people say, well, the houses were only $40,000 or $60,000 back then. But we also, I think minimum wage was like $2.85 or something an hour. So I think it's all relative. So I don't think that people can say we can't see those high interest rates today because that was a different time. I think that we could easily see where this, 30-year fixed rate mortgage averages out in at least the high sixes, mid to high sixes, or probably in the 7% going forward for some time. I think, again, if in fact, and I'll explain that a little bit, but I think if in fact we do see the mortgage rates dip, it will be driven for other reasons, not getting housing under control, housing prices under control. In fact, it would probably help fuel prices to continue to rise and make things even less affordable than they are today. And a lot of people don't understand. We've gotten in this mentality, Melissa, and we talk about this all the time, that people are buying payments. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of wrong. I mean, if we look from a debt mentality, why do we want to buy payments? We want to buy real estate as an investment. And, traditionally, real estate, you buy low and sell high. That's what's made, a lot of people the money that they have right now, right? Their home appreciated. But when we're kind of topping out in prices in this phase of the ups and downs, we're buying at a top right now. It doesn't mean that it won't go higher as time goes on, but for today, it's a high number compared to where it's been just 2 years ago. So I think that to not believe that there would be some correction before it starts to go back up again it'd be lunacy, right? It'd be just crazy to think about that. We already know people can't afford to buy. right? Yes, there's people will combat that by saying, oh, there's more cash buyers in the marketplace. That's such a small percentage, guys. If you look at the people that would like to buy a house, they can't write a check.
No.
They have to finance it. So they're buying payments, right? The problem with the people that are buying with payments is they don't realize how long they may need to stay in the house before they can actually get out from under it. That's the danger zone, right? So,
well, that just happened too. And just to bring us back in '08, people just in 2020, 2021, with the insane rise in prices in homes, are just at that point getting out from, owing, and they're getting in the plus side. So from what they purchased.
2006.
2006.
2006, the people that bought in 2006 in Maryland, most of these people did not come out, depending on what price point you were in.
Right.
But if you were in the higher end bracket, which is the top, which is where we saw in the peak, they bought in that peak. It took years for them to be able to sell their house, pay transfer recordation fees, commissions, and come out ahead of the game, or at least at a break-even point. And a lot of those people didn't realize it until 2022, which was last year. So if you look at 2006 to 2022, and this is true.
And you could be walking into that right now. You could be walking into that, and you should be prepared for that. And then because you are very possibly going to be stuck. And it's just the reality of the situation right now. It's a very high possibility.
All right, let's take some questions.
Let's take some questions. Okay, we've got David Kaplan. When do you think the Fed will lower rates versus when you think it's the correct time to drop rates?
Yeah, that's what's over $1 trillion? Is it gazillion? I don't know, whatever it is. The gazillion dollar question.
Yeah.
Do I think the Fed will lower rates in June? I don't. I could be 100% wrong, right? So no one knows, but I think that we're looking at another quarter of a point based on the CPI numbers and at least how strong the Fed has been at all of these meetings with their commitment. Now, they did reserve the right to slow things down. Could they stall here and push it? I think they could, but I think that we need to see not just disinflation, but I think we need to see some deflation in order for Americans to kind of reset their confidence. I think that people are just running crazy right now in debt. I mean, if you look at a lot of the people that just graduated college, I mean, they're like on the sidelines waiting for their loans to be forgiven.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
I don't know. Life is not fair because we see a lot of people say, how is this fair that they're going to not have the student loan, that they're going to have to pay that back? And then they're like, I had to pay it. I know we had David Thurston on as a guest, title attorney, local, and he said, that's just the way it is. Like, he had to pay for himself to get through law school. And so I don't know how I feel about it. Sure, it's great to be out of debt. Sure, I wouldn't want anyone to have all that. I mean, when you come out of college, it's extremely difficult to be able to be debt free and do the things that you want to do and have it's like, on your back about how much you owe and the responsibility you have to pay it back. But do I think that it should just all be wiped away and forgiven?
I mean, I'm just going to say it. I don't think that we should forgive student loans. I don't think that we should forgive student loans. Yeah. I think that for at least in, when you look at credit, and this is the way it's been, at least in my adult career, right, is that people would look at credit debt, and they would say, okay, but they didn't pay their credit card, but are they paying their student loan? And a lot of people looked at that as like, that was like the big no-no.
Yeah.
You don't give up on your student loan.
No.
That is your education. You paid, you wanted to go to college. I didn't go to college. I didn't have to go to college. I get it. It's not for everyone, right? But, a lot of people, we're getting into this trend, I think, that we have to do these certain things in order, or we're missing out in life.
I agree with you on that. I think now, I mean, growing up, it was you must go to college. You have to go to college. Make your parents proud. Go to college. Like I remember that mentality growing up, and thankfully, a lot of America has changed, and we are more accepting of people deciding to make different career choices. Thankfully, because to walk out and to have the student debt, to not even know what you're doing with your future.
What would be a valid reason that someone should forgive you of your student loan?
I don't,
What would be a valid reason? Because of why? Because you didn't know that you were accumulating debt? You didn't realize that you were going to have the loan balance when you graduated? What would be the reason, the valid reason? I mean, I'm just kind of curious. And guys, if you're watching this, you may not like that. You may unsubscribe to my channel here by saying, I can't believe that he doesn't think that my debt should be wiped free. I just have personal, for me, I think it's wrong. I think if you commit to something, if we're going to say that, then should say that you don't have to pay your mortgage. You don't have to pay your car loan. You don't have to pay your credit. I know you went to Macy's and you spent like crazy because they had sales, but you don't have to pay that back. Yeah. I think that what we have to realize here is that I don't think people want to pay for you to not pay.
I think we have made it very easy these past few years with, and when I say we, I meant just our government in general, handing out the money. COVID was a very scary time. I'm not taking anything away from that. It was terrible. We were in an unknown. We didn't even know what was going on day to day. It was crazy, and that's a whole other thing. But we were like, oh, here's more money to save you, more money to save you. And it's just, we're always trying to save versus, okay, we have to get smart. We can't just be waiting to be rescued constantly.
Yep. What was the question? I forget.
We're going on our normal Melissa Todd tangents.
I forget the question. I know the question was good. Oh, when would the Fed?
Yeah.
Okay, when is an appropriate time? Well, that's what I was getting at, right?
Right.
I think we need to see prices come down. It was a runaway train, and I think that there was a time of a lot of wealth gain, and I think that this is a way of taking it away. Right. I think that people are realizing we were watching mom and dad write checks for $50,000, $100,000 for their kid to buy a house, which is nice. That's great. If you can afford to do so, what a great thing to do. But I think the parents had then started waking up saying, well, wait a minute. We may run out of money if we do this, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that things got carried away. I think things need to come back down to earth a little bit. But I think, hey, the Fed needs to keep these rates cranked up till we start seeing prices come down. And, I don't mean where we should have real estate appreciation of 20% a year over year gains when we're looking at stagnated wages. And, in the last 10 years, wage growth hasn't been there. These people can't afford it. All we're doing is setting it up for more bailouts and more handouts if we don't bring it under control. And I think one of the biggest things, and look, and I'm not saying, I own real estate, right? I'm a operator, small operator of some residential rentals and some commercial. But the thing is, I think that we shouldn't see these corporations. I think in one of the counties in Texas, in one of the Dallas suburbs, they said it's like 51% of the houses are being purchased by investors. I don't know that should be allowed.
No.
I don't know that should be allowed.
Do you think there will be
if we live in America,
on
we don't want government to regulate us, but
right.
At what point should a house be a house? I don't know. Let's take some more questions.
Yeah.
I think the Fed will drop the rates. I think mortgage rates are going to be different. So mortgage rates differ from the interest rate that you see that the Fed raises. The Fed is raising the overnight trading rate or money rate, essentially, that banks and other lending institutions can trade money, borrow and lend money at a certain rate. And that's what they use then to mark up in order to make consumer loans, car loans, credit card loans, whatever. The mortgage is not directly related to the Fed raising and lowering rates, but historically, it does go kind of hand in hand. And, but really what we've been looking at is that the mortgage rates are sort of like going line with the 10-year treasury, the 10-year treasury bond. And the reason is because, when people are looking to invest their money in long term, they want to know kind of what are the long-term kind of more secure investments, and that's where they want to put their money. So when you're paying a lot of interest to people to invest in a 10-year treasury, an investor's going, okay, well, in order for me to buy a 30-year mortgage-backed security, that's going to have to pay me more than what I can get on a 10-year treasury. And that's why the prices of mortgages kind of go up from there, right? If the 10-year treasury goes up, then you see mortgage rates go up because that bond, that mortgage-backed security is an investment for people putting their money in mortgages. Well, the issue here is that the government, our federal government, has been buying these mortgage-backed securities. They started buying the mortgage-backed security. It wasn't invented in 2009, but I think the government in 2008 came up with like a $600 billion plan to buy mortgage-backed securities to encourage people to buy homes. They wanted to buy these mortgage-backed securities in order to compete with other investors so that they could keep the mortgage rate low, right? 4% low. And then it got crazy where we were seeing 2.75% low. Well, then the Fed said, well, we need to start taking these loans off of our books because now that rates have gone up, or we're really losing money as an investment, and we're starting to borrow more money and, pay more money to borrow money, the Fed, than it is that we're making on these investments, these mortgage-backed securities. So we got to tighten this down, kind of get rid of them and push the back out into, the market where money managers can bring the investors to buy these mortgage-backed securities. Well, we have to think about this. And we have to go, okay, well, what are these investors? I don't believe if the government hadn't been buying so many of these mortgage-backed securities, I don't believe that interest rates would have stayed as low as they did. I think that investors are like, well, I'll put my money in for 30 years, buy a security. I want a big return or more return, 7%, 8% return. And I think that's what we're going to get back to. I think the Fed's going to back off buying them, or they've just got to reverse everything that they said, which they could do, and start investing more in mortgage-backed securities. We have a slide somewhere, Joe. Maybe you could send it over to us here, and we could pull it up on the mortgage-backed securities and show you exactly what I'm talking about, how they started buying and how it skyrocketed. And now they've been trying to get these, mortgage-backed securities off their balance sheet. And just for you guys, so we can have fun with it a little bit, we talk about a mortgage-backed security. So what happened back in the day, and there are still lenders that portfolio or hold loans or mortgages in-house, but most of the regional banks, they do this with commercial loans. But the residential side, the banks used to lend the money to me or you, and for 30 years, and basically you would pay the bank. They would, give you that money out of their own till. You would give them the mortgage in the form of principal and interest payments, and they'd keep it for 30 years. And then the banks got smart, and they came up with this great idea. They said, well, why don't we sell these loans, and we'll still service them. We'll make money that way, but we'll get our money back that we tied up by giving them this $350,000 mortgage. Why don't we sell that loan and get our money back? And then, we'll just make our money on loan origination fees and servicing fees where we collect the payments, and they became loan servicers. And so that's why most people, when they buy a home, they instantly, within a month or 2 months, they get a letter saying, hey, your loan's been sold. We're the new buyer of the note, or the bank, you may not even realize that they sold it, and you're still making the payments to them. But anyway, so that's what I'm talking about. Do we have that chart yet? No, that's kind of like, I'm talking about the Fred chart. That was something that we kind of just had in one of our videos. While he's doing that, let's take another question.
Yeah. So we have, bear with me just a second here. I mean, this is someone here, Crystal. She's given a personal circumstance on what's going on. We need a house for our sanity. We live on my dad's property, but so scared of being underwater. Many people feel that way right now.
Yeah, I was just talking to an insurance agent today, and he was saying, like, how's the market? What's going on? And his son and his daughter-in-law have been living with his daughter-in-law's family for 2 years. She's in the medical industry. He's an engineer. Both of them make decent money, but they are the same thing. I mean, they're like, they don't want to be in their parents' basement, but at the same point in time, they're uncertain as to what's going on in the Baltimore market here. Prices are just ridiculous, and so when you're looking at transfer recordation fees, loan origination fees, down payment money to get a comfortable payment, and these are decent income earners, they're just not comfortable making making the plunge with the limited inventory,
I think,
and the overpriced inventory.
It's just crazy.
Yeah.
And sometimes to help your sanity in those things, you set like a timeline, like a year from now, we're going to reassess this, because living in a circumstance like that where you're ready to go, but it's too questionable. It's hard. Timeline's helping.
Well, save money. Take advantage of the situation and save money.
Save money, for sure.
I mean, that's the big thing. Cash is king.
Cash is king.
With a friend of mine that I'm helping him buy in Texas. I mean, the nice thing is he's going to write a check.
Yeah.
So when you have somebody that has a house and you want to be in the $300,000 range, and they have a house for $330,000, it's been sitting on the market for 60 days, 90 days. You know what? There's somebody who will take his $300,000 offer.
Oh my gosh, yes.
I mean, they're going to do it.
Yeah.
You may get people that say no, and that's fine, but everybody's situation is different. Right? And you have to stand firm, or don't care about overspending for the next 10 years.
Right. We did have another question.
And that's
here.
fine too, by the way. All right. So I
we
think
got
Joe's
it.
got it up
Go
here.
ahead,
Let's
Joe.
pull it up. All right, here we go. All right, here's the mortgage-backed security slide that we make our screen bigger here. There we go.
There we go.
All right, so check this out, guys. This is, somebody made a comment on one of our videos that said that, I think they misread me and said that mortgage-backed securities existed prior to 2009, but I wasn't talking about the mortgage-backed securities existence. What I was talking about in that video, more specifically, was that the Fed started buying mortgage-backed securities in 2009. And here you go. Here's this nice little roller coaster. We go up, 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 up. Whee! We go down, and we take the next hill up, right? This is a roller coaster that only goes up. It only goes down for very short periods of time.
Correct.
But it goes up. I mean, look at that, guys. 2020, obviously, they said, my gosh, we have got to start buying these mortgages, or we could never offer 2.75% for a 30-year mortgage. Who in the world wants to invest their money and get 2.75%? That is ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
So here we are.
Yeah.
So they gobbled up as many mortgage-backed securities as they could, and then they thought it was a bad. They said, "Oh,
Oh my goodness.
kind of bad. Oh,
Yep.
we really overdid ourselves this time in the history.
SOS.
Maybe they should have never started it in the first place. I don't know,
Yeah.
but I can tell you that it's starting to go down.
Yeah.
That's why I say, guys, how in the world will we see 4%? I mean, remember when we had that show at the end of last year, and I love her, but she said she thought that, oh, this is just a blip in time, and by January, first quarter, we'll be back at 4%.
Yes.
Well, we're almost double that now.
I know.
And, rightfully so, because if we look at the data and we look at the charts, we will realize it's not sustainable. So now what? What are the sellers to do?
Yeah. How about this one?
All right.
Meditation. I just finished paying my house. I want a second home. Should I wait for 2024 or buy now?
First, I'd ask why.
Yeah.
I mean, why you want a second home? That's great. Congratulations on paying off your home. What a powerful thing. I just want to let you know, don't stop paying your taxes, your property taxes.
Right.
Because you can lose your house by not paying your property taxes. So, we'll pay for those things forever. And would you believe that we have places here in Maryland, the property taxes on an annual basis are in excess of $20,000 a year? I mean, that's Howard County, Montgomery County, Frederick County, some of the highest taxed land probably in the country.
Incredibly expensive.
I love Maryland. We get to see the mountains and the beach and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And but we do have high property taxes. But that is exciting. I would say when we are talking about buying a second home, I would first want to know why and how much you're going to use that second home. And if you're going to think about doing some kind of short-term rental, like an Airbnb or VRBO or something like that, realize that it is a job. You're dealing with the public. And, so it's not all fancy and exciting. But really look at why you would want a second home. Now, if you're doing it as an investment, just be careful, right? I think there are some markets in the U.S. that I would say I would invest in. Texas is one of those markets. Certain areas in Tennessee, I believe, are some of those markets. They say Knoxville, which I love Knoxville, is very undervalued still right now. So depending on where you're looking, I think a lot of the markets have room to grow, and a lot of the U.S. housing markets have room to decline, and I think that they will. So just be mindful to that. Focus in on the markets. Look at the big macros, job growth, job stability. That's a big thing. Certainly, there's some areas where they're building these new microprocessor plants in the country. Anywhere where you're going to see sustained long-term job growth, I think that you'll be more.
Orlando, Florida is the location.
Yeah, Orlando's hot. Yeah, definitely. Orlando. I can remember going to Orlando in 2009, and man, I tell you what, you could get a house there for like $35,000. And I remember watching TV, and I used to watch TV back then, but they now I haven't turned it on in years. But anyway, they actually. Were giving, if you bought a condominium in like Doc Phillips, or maybe it wasn't Doc Phillips, maybe it was, somewhere around Universal Studios, because that's where we were.
Yeah.
Millennium, maybe. You guys, if you're from Florida, you're probably like, that's not how you say it, or you're saying it wrong. But anyway, you were getting like free BMWs. They were legitimately giving away cars.
Wow.
BMW cars. That's a nice car.
That's a nice car.
Yeah. BMW cars, they were giving them away as a settlement gift.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
And some of them, I don't think anybody ever lived in the buildings. I mean, like Fort Myers, Florida. I mean, they bulldozed a lot of those. I had a buddy of mine that did some investing in some condominiums there, ended up losing everything because nobody ever lived in the condos. It was such a bad time. They had mold in them so bad they just bulldozed them over. What was the point?
You were just talking about how they were basically giving the homes away.
Orlando, Florida is a good place to invest. I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. They made like some medical park around there too. A lot of old people are going there because, I think medicine's pretty good there. I don't know. You guys would tell us if we're wrong.
Yeah. Well.
When you get out of your game and get in someone else's game, you become fair game, right? So, I mean, we're looking here. I'm stepping out talking about Florida like I know the place. Though we've got videos coming out on Florida.
We do. We
right?
do. It's
Videos,
very
guys.
exciting.
We got this crazy new series we're starting.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't even want to say it because what if it doesn't work? You guys may
course
not
it's
even
gonna
like
work.
it. I don't know.
I don't know.
You guys may not like it. So we're going to do the highest and lowest.
Mm-hmm.
It's a new kind of series we're going to start. It's funny because, oh gosh, as we're calling around trying to get in these places, right? Like, hey, we want to come see your $55 million house. So we want to shoot a video on it. And they're like, they check us out and they're like, are you going to tell us it's overpriced?
Right.
Don't look at our channel. Don't look at our channel.
Don't check us out.
Let us in. We just want to do a video on your house. But we want to talk about what the highest and lowest priced houses are in the cities across the country. We want to bring it to you, let you go inside, let you see what your money will buy. And then we're going to talk about stats, right? These are cool stats. Like, has there been population growth in these areas? Is there population decline? If you're thinking about buying a second home, you might really want to stay in tune with this playlist because you may say, hey, this population is increasing and means that values might still go up. But we want to try and track the values in the cities. Mm-hmm. So we're going to try this thing out. Hopefully you'll like it.
Yeah, it's going to be cool, though, to get you out there and seeing these different parts because, we're here in Maryland. So it's going to be a fun ride.
Yeah, it is. We got some super chats here, too.
We do. So let me go.
Let's do some shout outs.
Of course, we've got here Cosmos.
Cosmos, thank you so much. We got a super sticker. I didn't even know what that meant. Super sticker.
And how
but
do I bring that in,
we
Joe?
appreciate
there we go.
you.
I got
Yeah,
it. There
thank
we
you so
go.
much. You guys are great.
Thank you so much.
We really appreciate your super chat here.
There's
Travis,
another
Real
one,
Estate
Travis.
Mindset. Thank you.
Hello.
Always
happy
being
Tuesday.
here Tuesday night. Gosh, we try. I think, how many times have I missed? And I don't even know what episode this is. Years. I've missed.
I
Ron
think
sat in twice.
Ron sat in a couple times. I mean, you've maybe missed 2 or 3.
We had a couple recorded.
A couple recorded.
People
Yeah.
didn't like that at all
No.
because they couldn't comment. And right.
They're like, don't ever do that again.
So yeah,
Yeah.
we like being live. We love this kind of format.
Yes. It's fun.
All right.
Okay. So we've got another question here. Bear with me just a second. Oh, it's further down. I sold my home. We got Marius. I sold my home in February 2022 due to a 2-year work contract relocation. Do you think a bottom could come in 24 or 25?
I think that we will see. So it's going to be very interesting here, and I think the 24 is an election year. So, I think that we're going to start to see a couple of things. I think sellers with these second homes, and rentals that aren't really panning out for them as costs have gone up. Insurance costs. I mean, I was talking to an insurance agent because I'm pricing out every policy that I have when it comes up for renewal because the prices are going absolutely, through the roof.
Right.
And when you have a vacant home, your policy, at least from my experience, is way more than if it's an occupied home, even if it's a rental. So they don't want to, because of vandalism, arson, things like that, they don't want to insure these high-risk properties. So a lot of these short-term rentals or, vacant long-term rentals, they're going through the roof. So a lot of people bought second homes. I think once we start to see if we can sustain some type of interest rate increase in the 7% range, I think it won't take but a couple months before that with combined stagflation, where sellers are like, man, I got to get rid of this extra debt, these owners. So I think we will see inventory pick up when people realize that mortgage rates aren't going to go down to 4% again and that their home value will jack up $20,000 more in the next 3 weeks because buyers come out of the woodwork because they dropped the rates to 4.5% or 5%. That would be terrible, in my opinion. So I think if we sustain a 7.5% rate, I think that at the very least we're going to see prices halt or really slow down, maybe 1 or 2% year over year, not 8 or 10 or 15. But I think that if rates go up, continue to go up, and we start seeing layoffs, and we start seeing more recessionary type of evidence in the average American. I think you're going to see people walking away from their homes. You'll start seeing more distressed inventory enter the market. And I think that we could easily see that by mid-24. So 25 could be, we could be looking at another 18 months of tough times.
Yeah.
If they lower the interest rates for this election, man, we might get runaway inflation again like we've never seen before. I think it will catch up, though. And then that point, it would just probably be in 25. If they prop things up, how long can you prop it up? Things are happening, guys, that really people aren't paying attention to. This AI, have you heard? I mean, we talk about it. What am I saying? Have you heard?
I've heard about it.
We're not really here right now. This is completely AI generated. Todd is probably asleep in his bed. Melissa's probably out.
I'm probably out.
Right. So we're completely computer generated here, guys. Tell the difference by playing back last week's video. AI is a scary thing. It's going to take a lot of jobs. People say it's not. It is. Yeah. Believe me.
Yeah.
It is.
Of course it is.
People are already starting to use the chat bot and, writers, advertisers, it's funny because not that long ago, people started making music without playing a musical instrument. And some of the most, outrageous compositions are not even instrumentally played.
Yeah.
Or composed.
Yeah.
They're all done as a computer generated composition.
But we're a long way. Well, I don't know how long, but we were even pulling up Zillow listings where they're pulling wrong information because they're pulling words that they think in their AI program that are going to be more beneficial for the listing.
Zillow. Come on. They've had a hard time getting many things right. Melissa, do you think they're going to get AI right?
That's true. That's a whole nother show.
They couldn't buy houses and make that work.
No.
Their robot broke with their algorithms. People are relying on that. My house is worth $350,000 more than it was 2 months ago. This is great.
They do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks, Zillow.
Thanks. What do you think about this, though? Do you see interest rates at the rate of 14% like in the time of Ronald Reagan?
I honestly, no one has a crystal ball. I don't know, but I wouldn't think so. I think that, who knows? But I think that we're going to see, in my opinion, my professional opinion, I've been in this business for 30 some years. I've seen the ups and downs in the market. I don't think it's unreasonable. I remember when 7% was a good rate. I was excited to get a 7%. I remember when it was 6%. I was like, oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, this is cool, right? 6% mortgage rates. So I think that we would be sort of misled, in my opinion, to think that that's not normal. So I think that what we really have to do when we're looking at houses or the price of housing is we have to say, okay, what is a realistic percentage of your income that you're comfortable spending on your housing related expenses? In my opinion, it should be a third, not 41% or 45%, or I bought a house and now I'm going to buy 2 new cars and I'm going to go get furniture on, 120 days, same as cash, or 180 days. And if we don't pay it off, we'll just pay it, the interest payment. No. So I think that we need to look at, if we had a 7% mortgage, what can you afford? And I think that that's where people have to accept. And if you can't get that, then you're going to have to wait, unless you want to be stressed out. The number one reason of divorce,
financial,
I think, is at least it used to be. I don't know. Who knows now?
I don't know. They'd have to do a poll or something. But I think financial stresses, it's in the top, let's say 3. Let's just say that.
What keeps you up at night?
Yeah.
Usually money.
Usually money.
Right.
Yep.
I spent too much money and now the bills due.
Yeah.
who's going to pay it? Not me. So I wouldn't think that we'd be, Amir, I don't think, is it Amir?
Amir. Mm-hmm.
I don't think we'll be at 14%, but I could be wrong. But I think 8s are practical in order to get this shock through the industry, the housing industry, that prices need to adjust, at least until wage growth adjusts. I mean, do you think, so what I was getting at is when you think about employers, do you think that an employer is going to give raises to their employees, or do you think they're going to try and cut costs? Their insurance are going up, utilities for their building, the rents are going up, everything's going up. Are they going to increase salaries? Guys, you better be ready to freaking hustle, man. You better be ready to hustle for your boss, and really make amazing gains for that company if you're expecting to get 10% pay increases to catch up with the cost of housing. I think that I think a lot of things are going to drive down costs. I think the Z generation, Gen Zs. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's already this generation is awesome. They are awesome. I mean, they are like hungry.
Yeah, they're hungry.
They're starting their own businesses, their side hustles. They're like working at a job, but they're starting their little side jobs or hustles. This is a different kind of generation. I love it. So I think what's going to happen is they're going to be more independent. They're going to go out and be independent contractors. And then the hustlers are going to get it. They're going to make it. And then the, what do they call them? The ones that get fired, they quit, the silent quitters or silent quitting or silent, whatever it is. Right? People are going to be like, look, like, dude, you've been on your phone. You don't get off your phone. Get out of here. Mm-hmm. You're not helping customers. You're not helping us grow our business. You're not helping pay for your paycheck. Guys, understand something. I'm an employer. Do you have to be worth more than what you're being paid? Right? You can't look at it and be like, they don't deserve me. This job, this employer doesn't deserve me, right? You better be saying, man, I need to be worth what I'm being paid and more if you want to make more money. That's a different session. But what I'm saying here is that employers are looking at costs going up. They're looking at employees as the highest expense, sometimes 24% of their expenditures, can be salaries, right? And they're going to look at that and say, how can I get that number down? I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to hire that Gen Z that just started their own business that's an expert in this specific thing. And I'm going to get rid of this full-time person. I'm going to hire them. And I'm going to let them competitively bid for my work. And I think that's what we're going to see happen. So if we're going to be looking to our jobs to continue paying for your student debt, your mortgage payments, your car payments, wiping all your debt free and letting you get to start over again. I don't know. I don't think we should be looking at that. I think we should be looking about how we're going to hustle and get out and do something and contribute.
And stop complaining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, even those people are having a hard time paying these costs, these prices.
Yep. Well, let's see here. When do you think housing inventory will climb, and will it be from foreclosures or investors?
I think the foreclosure is going to take some time because of the government, and these workouts. So, and guys, for those of you that haven't been paying attention or watching along with us, a couple of things are going on right now. If you're an FHA borrower, so they have these programs now. They're taking 30%. Let's just say you owe $300,000 and you can't make your mortgage, right? They just wrote it in Biden administration in January, just increased it. It was 25%. Over 1 million households have taken advantage of some type of loan forbearance, some kind of, restructuring since COVID. Over 1 million households. There's a lot of inventory. If it hadn't been there, these people would have lost their homes. I'm not saying that they're still not going to lose their home despite it. I mean, history tells us that despite workouts, unless it was just a temporary financial hardship and they can get back on their feet again, typically what happens is it just delays the inevitable. But anyway, you have a $300,000 loan balance and you're in default. Okay. They will do a modification, a loan modification up to 30% of that balance. They will take out $270,000 is your new balance in that primary mortgage. They take that 30%. I didn't do that right. That was 10%. You have 300,000. They take 90,000. 30%. 90,000. Your balance is 210,000. Right? I'm going to recast that for you in a 0% interest free loan. We're going to put on the back end of your now 40-year mortgage. Maybe you stay with the 30-year, but now a 40-year mortgage. So we're going to take that 30% balance, 90 grand, dump it on the back, no interest. Your payments are now based on 210,000, not 300,000. Sounds like a great deal, right? You owe that balance when two things happen. Number one, you pay it off at the end of 40 years or 30 years, whatever your loan balance or term is. When you pay off your mortgage is when that 30% will be due, or if you sell the home. So that's what's going on right now. A lot of people are saying, well, will we see foreclosures hit the market? There are still people that are walking away from their mortgages because that's still not helping them. And this is why. For a lot of people, because I get to go in these houses and I've done it. In the '08 crisis, I was going through these people's houses, right? And what happens is they bail when the house is no longer fit to live in. So usually when people are losing a house or going financially in trouble, it's been happening over some period of time. A lot of times it's not temporary. What happens is things break, and it's sad. But I've been in houses where mold was growing out of control. Water's just pouring in the roof because they can't afford to fix the roof. Their heating and air system's broken. They don't have a refrigerator. They can't even afford to go out and buy a $300 refrigerator. They're using coolers. These are not. This stuff happens, right? And so what happens is when these things happen, it doesn't matter what kind of loan modification you have. When the house becomes that way, they just bail out completely. And that's when they walk away or throw in the keys. Or when they just want to move. They just want to leave. Now, back in '08, people were moving because their neighbor's house sold for $150,000 less than theirs. And they're like, I'm not paying this mortgage. I'm just stopping. I know somebody, it took them 10 years. They lived in a house for 10 years. 10 years, Melissa.
It's insane.
And the house is like 20-some thousand square feet. This is not a small house.
It's crazy.
They lived there for 10 years without making a mortgage payment. I'm not judging them. Just saying it's a fact. Right? And then they ended up giving them like $25,000 cash for keys because they finally sold the house. And here was the problem back then, guys, is there was multiple mortgages, first and second mortgages on these homes. And there was a big consolidation. A lot of mortgage companies went out countrywide. One of the biggest loan originators. They went out of business. And what happened was a lot of these documents and files, these paper documents, were in boxes, and they couldn't find the notes. They couldn't find the loans. They had to actually physically find the loan, the note that was signed in order to foreclose on it. And then what happened where you had two banks, for instance, let's just say lender A, the primary first position, and lender B, you got that home equity line of credit because you could, and they wanted it. So they really maxed out the equity, took all the equity out of the house, and a lot of times more than the house was worth. And what happened was the first position couldn't close on you, couldn't foreclose, because they had to negotiate with the second bank and say, look, we need you to forgive your balance here so that we can foreclose on this house. So it took years that people stayed in their homes before they were eventually foreclosed on and then evicted that was something completely different in itself. But 10 years, I know someone, 10 years, didn't make a payment, saved probably over $1 million in payments.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So what do you all think about that?
I mean, it's wild. I don't know. I mean, we're just trying to, we've learned our lesson in the past of things, what not to do. Now we're in a whole other.
Do you think we've learned our lesson?
Well, from having people stay in their home for 20 years, 10 years without paying a dime.
Would you stay in your home if you could for 10 years?
Probably.
I mean, hey.
Why not?
A credit shot.
Well, that's the thing that I was thinking about with this.
You know what I mean? Like,
40
if you allow it,
loan modification.
here's the problem. If you allow it, people are going to do it. If you allow paying off people's student debt, I'm going to get my debts paid off. I mean, come on. I mean, look, I'm not saying that I'm for it, but if you're going to give it out, well, give it to me too.
Yeah.
I mean, right? I want my mortgage, 30% of my mortgage cast on the back end of my mortgage interest free. I don't want to pay it.
Well, here's the thing, though, with that is that if you're in default, your credit is already getting banged up.
What if I'm not in default? I want it too. What if I'm not in default? That's the thing. Now we're actually charging people. There's some other craziness going on where people that would have great credit scores are paying higher loan origination or whatever.
Oh, gosh.
fees.
We just had a question about that. That was
People
in
that
the
have
queue
low
here.
credit scores. We're being penalized now for paying our bills
it is.
on time.
Right here. Is it smart to lower
Daggone.
your credit score to get a better rate?
Yeah, how about that? Don't do that.
No.
Hey, I'll tell you a little story. I don't know if you
No.
remember this. Do you remember the guy that stopped paying his credit cards because he heard that was a good idea?
Oh, yeah,
and couldn't
yeah. Yes.
We had a settlement. Well, it never happened. It was a house that was going to be settled on. We were like, I don't know, 5 days, less than a week away from closing. Everything's finally good to go. And for some reason, the lender did another credit pull or something. And this borrower, their credit dropped like 30 or 40 points, their FICO score. And we're like, what the heck? So the buyer said, well, I heard that if you stop paying your credit cards, you can negotiate a better rate.
That's brilliant. That's awesome.
Well, at least wait until you settle on the house, for crying out loud.
Or at least get some real info on that. I mean, what? I heard it was a good idea.
Yeah.
No, you can't. You really can't. Okay.
All right, what else? What else we got?
Elizabeth, Todd, do you have any recommendations for a stellar realtor in the Orlando area?
I do. Send me an email,
Send an email,
with your
Elizabeth.
information and what you're looking for, and I will connect you. Yep. And guys, we do have an amazing broker network all over the country. I always hesitate when I say this because we love it. We're working on a couple things here, but I just want to say, and Joe, go ahead and put the email up for another second here. So guys, if you're looking for an agent, you're not represented, and you're looking for an agent, reach out, send an email. I haven't said this in a while because we were so pounded and so inundated, and we love you guys and we want to help you, but it was such a massive undertaking connecting people with agents that I feel like we even disappointed a couple people in the process. But we do have agents all across the country that share a lot of our same sentiments. And, so I like to know that, that they're good listeners and that they're asking the right questions and that they have experience to be able to. And it doesn't mean that they have been in business for years and years and years, because believe me, you can find an agent that's been in business for 30 years that doesn't have some of the criteria that we look for in matching up clients or matching our audience up with, agents. But we're really excited about a new website that we're launching. And guys, it hasn't launched yet, so don't cruise over to our terrible website. But we are working on something really cool. And you will be able to click on a map And if you're an agent, you're interested in, talking to us about qualifying to be on our site. It's going to be an amazing. Here you go, right here, just kind of like a snapshot. Joe's giving you a little sneak peek. This is the map, and basically you'll be able to hover over the map. You'll be able to click on it, and if we have agents in your city, it's broken down by city. And, we think this is going to be an amazing tool that we don't have to be the cog in the wheel of connecting you, that you will be able to reach out. And a lot of this is going to be easy because we're trying to encourage these agents to set up Calendly, which is free app on a basic level, to where you can actually schedule your call with them, any time of day or night, pick a time and schedule a call with them. So we're really excited about this. This same website we're going to have will also have trusted resources, where we will have lenders, title companies, insurance providers, things like that, to where we can kind of connect you and be a good resource for you guys to have a good experience. I mean, that's what we care most about. We care about your experience. And some people, and all pulling and pushing aside, there are a lot of people that can afford to buy a home, even if they're overspending now. We do know if you're going to be there for 10 years or you're looking for a forever home, hey, look, get what you want if you can afford it. And, we're all about that. We're not trying to say, crash your dreams or be naysayers. We're just, the people that we deal with are real people that don't have unlimited funds. That's the bulk of our business, the bulk of our audience. It's the bulk of who we connect with on a daily basis. So when we're talking about these things, we're talking to them that, we're trying to say, look, it's okay. Stop listening to what other people are saying about throwing your money away in rent. My gosh, I would rather you throw your money away in rent if it meant that you didn't come out of pocket with everything that you own, and that you're financially struggling to the point that you're miserable in your life, right? Because we know that, life is short, guys. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're looking at, you don't want to spend your life in misery. Take it from some people that have been there, have done that, have gone through it, and you'll be better off when you can afford it. Whether that means that home prices crash or that means that you're in a better financial position. One or the other, if you're buying a payment, if you miss out and it's going to cost you $25,000 more next year, then you should be able to afford the payment because you're going to save, you're going to be smart. So that's kind of where we're coming from with that. And I don't think that it's going to be $25,000 more next year.
Okay. Let's hope not.
Guys, one of the ways that you can let Melissa and I know that that you appreciate what we're doing here on Tuesday nights is you can hit that thumbs up. It'll let us know that you like the video, you like what we're doing. The other thing, guys, is you can share us with your friends. One of the biggest compliments and one of the things that we like to see, I like to see when I'm looking at the analytics, is how many times our videos have been shared. And, it's either saying that this guy is crazy. I don't want to think that that's the reason that you share a video. I'd like to think that you're sharing a video because you're sending it to somebody that needs to hear it, that needs to understand what they're getting themselves into when they're buying a home, because a lot of people don't know, and I mean, it's kind of like a big deal. People have never taken care of anything in their entire life. Some people, they've never even cut the grass. They don't know how to cut the grass. It sounds ridiculous, but it's happening all the time. Mm-hmm. And, so I think that, education's important, understanding what you're getting into and trying to prevent people from making mistakes.
Yes.
Anyway, a couple more questions.
Yes. We got Lexi.
We'll call it a night.
Hi, Lexi.
Hey, Lexi.
We are going to do a Maryland question right now. So question, do you think that Maryland will go down, especially where we are near much?
Yeah.
The job market has remained strong, so I see a correction, but not so much something drastic.
And Maryland is, and we have seen prices come down. So, it's not that if you look at from peak, we're seeing a lot of prices, 5%, 6%, 7% decline from peak. I wouldn't say it's trough yet because I don't think that's accurate. if you look at the numbers, and guys, it's hard to calculate the numbers because they cook the books, right? I mean, when you're looking at it, try and find straight data. I dare you. Try and do it. I mean, we spend our career trying to figure out the data. Number one, real estate is backward looking. So we're always looking at last month's numbers. And in order to try and get an accurate read, we'd have to know so much it's impossible, right? It's not like a constant ticker to say that this house is worth X amount of dollars today, tomorrow, this hour, that hour. But Lexi, I think the thing is that I do believe we're going to see more inventory hit the market. So that in itself should stabilize things. But because Maryland is such a government and insurance-based job market, or the ancillary markets, when you look at one job, there is a multiple, right, of how many other jobs are created because of that job. So when we're looking at where one job could mean 6 to 7 other jobs in the Baltimore metropolitan area, when you look at service providers, just the dry cleaners, whatever restaurants that are shops, things like that. So there's always a multiplier in every state, or in even every, kind of district, if you will. So when we look at those multipliers, we realize that being in the proximity to DC, we are less, volatile, right? So, but in 2008, we crashed the most, one of the worst in the country, and we were the slowest to come back. And I say that as a precaution because we are at all-time prices, highest prices, right? So what I say that people say you're shooting yourself in the foot by saying this, but if I didn't have to buy a house right now, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that if you don't find that's everybody's, everybody's goals are different, right? But I would look at it as, what are the next couple of years looking like for me? And, is it something, one, do I want to stay put? Okay. If you do, then that goes in the buy, in the buy side. Make a list of pros and cons. Best advice that I can give you. Make a list of pros and cons. How long are you planning on staying? Is it going to be a house that's going to satisfy your needs for the next 10 years? If it needs to, how much is this of a financial commitment is this going to be for you? Or is it going to prevent you from doing other things? When are you expected to get job pay increases? These are all things that you need to take in consideration. Do you plan on having children, for instance? Will the house satisfy those needs? So you have to really look at more of like a long kind of term goal. And if these things are unstable for you, then you really have to put a lot of weight into waiting, because I just think that we're just in uncertain times, period. We're just in uncertain times.
Mm-hmm. And that just goes back to what I was saying earlier. It's really hard for some people mentally to just have that limbo of, okay, when is the end going to be? So whatever you have to do, to make it tolerable, because it is, you're just like, I don't know. It's very hard for people to live that way.
I would say comfortably the next 12 to 18 months is going to tell a big story. Yes. It's going to tell a big story. We're coming off of one of the highest bubbles in so many different markets, the stock market, the housing market, the job market. Let's think about this. It's a super bubble.
It is.
Everything. What was happening during the pandemic is people were giving sign-on bonuses for people to leave their jobs. Now they're looking at these people going, did I overpay? Don't take my advice for it. Talk to your friends. Look, I get comments on this channel all the time where people are like, I just lost my job. I was just laid off. My friends just lost. My daughter just lost her job. These are real things.
Tonight. We saw it tonight in the comments.
And these are things that are happening. Yeah. So what we have to do is say, if we're looking at the data and we're relying on what mainstream media is telling you, guys, wake up. Wake up. How many people exited the workforce. They're looking at unemployment numbers. They're looking at job postings that include, Meta at like, I don't know. I mean, did I say that right, Joe? Meta,
Yeah,
right?
Meta.
So we're looking at Meta had 50,000 openings on a job board. I mean, are you kidding me? Maybe it was 5,000. I don't know. I think it was more than that, but I think it was 50,000.
Yeah.
And they just take them away. They just wipe them out. So when we look at how many jobs there are per worker or whatever, it's all bunk in my opinion. We have to look at what's happening with you. How much money do you have? How much money are you making? What is going on with you? I don't care about other people. Mm-hmm. I care about you, right? As a buyer, what's going on in your life? Are you realizing that if you decide that you don't want this anymore and that you'd rather move back home and you can't unless you destroy your credit? That's what I'm talking about.
Right.
I'm less concerned about people that have bought houses before.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more concerned about the now 27% of the homes being sold are, according to NAR, I think it's 27%. It went down. First-time buyers. It went down. Investor sales has gone up.
Right.
All right, let's take two more.
Mm-hmm.
Two more and we'll call it a night. We'll call it a little easy night here. We got a big week coming up and we're going to be, you guys, I can't wait to share some of the things that we're working on. It's going to be so fun.
Okay, so let's do David Kaplan. Why do you think the West Coast and East Coast are so drastically different in falling house values?
Well, I want to tell you something. Most of the things happen on the West Coast and they come east. So a lot of these trends, are moving this way. We looked at California, for instance, some of the most expensive real estate in the country, in the world. When we start realizing, I think people are just waking up. I think, a lot of different things. There's domestic migration for whatever reason, political reasons. Some people like to say, I try not to talk about the political side of things. But when we see domestic migration, people saying no to prices. I mean, when somebody can go to Tennessee and stroke a check for $1 million and they're so happy they did, something wrong with that. Mm-hmm. Right? Because I think remote work, legislation, restrictions, but a lot of the policies come from the West Coast and they come across the country and they end up here on the East Coast. So, I mean, look at ADUs,
ADUs.
accessory dwelling units. A lot of the legislation that we get comes from the West Coast. We get their storms.
Yeah.
A lot of them. There's snow. Comes down, goes down Florida, comes back up. We get nor'easters, dumps on us. We go, thanks, California. We appreciate that. When we're shoveling partly cloudy and it's 3 feet of snow. That hasn't happened for a while, but anyway, a lot of it does come from the West Coast. I think the price, look, I still think prices are far from over and softening. I think Zillow just redid a lot of their outlooks, with the housing market. I think a lot of these economists are starting to say, boy, if these interest rates stay like they are, we might see house prices come down even more. Duh.
Let's talk about Zillow for a second because Steve had a question here. When you see a foreclosed home on Zillow and it says home in default for $16,585 and foreclosed auction $299,216 unpaid balance, what does that mean?
Yeah, so honestly, I would imagine that they're doing a financial disclosure, which is kind of interesting. When we sell a house here in Maryland, we have to let people know if the seller is in default of their mortgage. And the reason is because now, see, what's throwing me off here, and Steve, I appreciate this, is that it's saying that it's already foreclosed. So if a home is in foreclosure, What that means, if a seller is selling a home that's in a foreclosure status, it's not actually foreclosed on. It's not, now waiting to either be signed off by the judge that the bank can actually, has that property now to sell, is what we know is what we call an REO, real estate owned, where the bank actually owns it. But if it is actually foreclosed on, or if it's in foreclosure. So if it's in foreclosure, if the seller is selling it, is not the bank selling it, right? But what they're saying is we're in default of a balance, right? And that it may not be worth what is owed. And the reason why you have to do a financial disclosure is because a buyer can't be harmed by your failure to provide this information. Because if it gets foreclosed on while you're in midstream of negotiations or in contingencies, the buyer is spending money with things like inspections. They're spending lender fees. They're spending appraisal fees, right? Cost up front. And then all of a sudden the bank says, it's too late. It's foreclosed on. Now you, Mr. Buyer, are out. And you've been harmed because you've spent money. So what they want you to know is that there is obligations that aren't being met by the seller, and you need to be aware that this is it's in foreclosure. It is a foreclosure process, and you as the buyer need to know that you may not be able to buy it despite you spending money. So that's what that is. So I think it might be that it's in foreclosure, not foreclosed on. Steve, in this comment, but it's a great question, and and we should be transparent to our buyers with what we know is material facts. Material facts is a financial default from a seller. We don't want to see buyers, even though we don't represent them if we're representing a seller, but we still, as our obligation to someone that we don't even know. And we don't represent, it's still our obligation to let them know that we can't harm them financially on knowledge that we have.
And I'm just going to, I know you said 2 questions, but I'm going to do one more.
I'll keep bringing them.
But this is a follow-up, and this comes up a lot. Can you finance foreclosures?
Yeah, so sometimes you can. The big thing is, sometimes the banks will entertain writing a mortgage for a borrower, a buyer. But the big thing is that you have to know is that a lot of the loans, a lot of the qualified loans, the property doesn't qualify for. So when you're dealing with foreclosed homes, 2 things. Number one, it may not be vacant. When a bank forecloses on a home or is going through the foreclosure process and they win it at auction, bank auction, or foreclosure auction, the bank gets it, not some other investor, because that happens too. They can't just march on the property and throw these people out if they're still living there. You have to go through a full eviction process or give them cash for keys to get them to leave. So it could be hard for you to get a mortgage if it's going to take you 6 months to get the occupants out of the house, the prior owners out of the house. You may not be able to get a loan for that. Oh yeah, well, we're not going to go inside, but can you give me a $450,000 mortgage on it? Yeah, no. Sometimes you can do hard money financing with something like that. But let's say the occupants are gone and you can tour the house. It may not qualify because it could not be livable. Maybe the heating and air system's gone up, or there's mold, or there's things that would prevent a borrower of getting, financing.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to do
another great question? Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
We got another one here. Again, great question. Renee, thank you. How do you see baby boomers impacting the housing market in 3 to 5 years?
Well, I think baby boomers, people are living longer, and I think baby boomers are still young. What I think is that one of the things that the pandemic has showed us, especially our aging relatives, is that they don't want to be abandoned or alone. and separated from their families in times like we had. So a lot of people, there's a lot of hospitals and programs that are researching hospital at home. We know that people age better at home. We know that they live healthier at home, and they heal faster at home. So I think that what we're seeing is the transition of multi-generational housing enter once again. When I was growing up, it was very common to have 3 generations living in the same house. And I think that as affordability issues are impacting the ability for people to buy, that mom and dad are making space in their home to where they simply give their kids their home and they live in an accessory dwelling unit or in-law suite or something like that, so that family members can care for them as they're aging. So I don't think we're going to see as much impact as far as new inventory, if that's what we're getting at here, entering the market as a result of baby boomers aging. I think the silent generation, is another situation in itself. But I think that people are, when we see that estate sales are happening, that's kind of like one of my favorite options for buyers. And we don't see a whole lot of them. But when you're talking about estate sales, if you don't mind fixing up a house, spending some money on a house, most of the time these houses are very livable. They're just outdated. So you have a situation where the kitchen hasn't been upgraded, updated in 20 years or 30 years, but the microwave still works, or the oven is, impeccable condition, or you have metal cabinets. Actually, they're coming back. And you're like, man, these metal cabinets, this is unbelievable. They have magnets on the inside that hold the door shut.
Vintage.
But the thing is a lot of these homes are still qualify for a mortgage, and because they're livable, quite livable. And what happens is, my experience is that you have the kids are scattered in a lot of cases all over the country, whether they're from Ohio and, Pennsylvania and Maryland or whatever, or California, they're scattered. And what they want is a quick sale. They don't want to fix anything. They don't want to be beat to death on, getting, a nickel and dimed. And then what happens is $20,000 divided by 5 kids is not a whole lot of money, right? So if somebody can come in with a quick settlement and, do a walkthrough and go, man, this house, yeah, it's updated. Don't beat them up on a freaking kitchen, or, flooring or whatever. But if you're a buyer and you can stand some floral wallpaper in the dining room, open your eyes a little bit to the possibility that would maybe a good way for you to save some money. And a lot of the buyers, they want a higher quality move-in ready, more modern look. But this is your chance to go in and do some make some elbow equity, some sweat equity, and really enhance and improve the house. So I think if you could take advantage of that and see some estate sales, follow them around. And if you're an agent listening to this, a great way to even do this for your buyers is to hook up with some estate planners or attorneys that handle estate sales, things like that, and become familiar with them. Let them know that you're an option for buyers. One more. Yep.
Okay. One more. We already got that one. Oh, this is Elvira. Elvira called into the office. She needed some help, and she ended up closing on, she needs some representation.
Yes.
So, hi, Elvira.
Awesome.
And she says, hi, guys, it's Elvira, and you guys helped me tons by my first condo in December 22, and I purchased it at 18 grand less than the asking price. Now I want to sell it at a profit. My agent wants 3.9%.
Wow, you bought it already, and now you're going to sell it?
Yeah.
Well, all right, well, go for it.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know which state. I don't remember.
She is up in, I want to say, it begins with an M, Missouri, maybe?
Is that up? Is that over?
Up?
Over and out.
Over?
Missouri. Okay, cool.
I think so. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, there you go. I mean, we connected her with an agent.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
She had success.
Success, got a good price.
Yeah.
And such a good price. Guys, we love agents that fight for good prices.
Yeah.
Now, we do represent sellers too. I got to tell you, I fight for good prices for my sellers.
Oh, yes.
I mean, so it's like,
And you also have a track record of no easy deals.
oh man.
There's always something.
I get the tough ones. I
You
give
do.
all the easy ones away, and I keep the hard ones. They're like, Todd, you've got to take this one for yourself.
Yep.
Oh, I did want to talk about something as a kind of like I wanted to talk about encroachments.
Yeah.
Because we've been seeing this a lot lately. If you guys are buying a house, there's something called an encroachment. It's when a neighboring property has something that's actually on your property, right? The property line. This has been, you kind of reminded me of that because I've sold houses where the pool house is like mostly on the neighbor's yard.
I know.
We didn't find that out until the buyer, I represented the seller, and they were like, oh, I just want to let you know that this pool house was, and we're like, guys, the pool house was built 300 years ago. It stays. And we got it done.
Yeah.
We got it done.
We did.
We were able to just kind of make it happen. But
Yeah.
anyway, encroachments are big because sometimes they can't be done. Sometimes you can't get title policies on them. And sometimes if you're encroaching on somebody else's property, they may just take that land from you just like somebody did. That just reminded me of that. But I have had some difficult deals.
You have.
Yeah.
I know. And then we think it's going to be easy, and they're like, "Oh, of course. This is what you do." But
So send your difficult deals to me. I'll be glad to take them. Guys, thank you so much for hanging with us on our Tuesday night podcast. As always, we love you guys. We appreciate your comments.
Yeah, I mean, another great night. So thankful for all of you. And again, so many questions tonight. We're happy to help, always here to help. I answer the phone at the office. You need anything with us here at Sachs Realty, please don't hesitate to call.
People are like, this is really Melissa?
I know. They answer and they're like, I know your voice. It's me. It's me. Just here at the office.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Until next week, we will see you soon.
See you soon.